Hello and welcome to episode 15 of War Down South, the fortnightly Warhammer podcast from the south coast of the UK. I am, as ever, your host, Callum Slater, and I'm joined by my wonderful co-host, Mr. Sam Nice.
Podcast. Whoa!
And Mr. Ricky Robson.
Hello.
Great energy. This week...
I couldn't follow it. I had nothing, so I just went, oh, fuck
This
it.
week, myself and the guys give a quick update on GW's latest releases, rumours, and random speculation about the Warhammer preview on Saturday, the 20th of February. And for the main of the episode, we're joined by the wonderful Mr. Chris Revell from Tabletop Standard. We talk about Adeptus Titanicus, hobby in general, and getting pissed at tournaments. So, sit back, grab a stiff drink, and let's go. Fantastic. So welcome to episode 15. Callum, as usual, joined by Sam and Ricky. How are you guys getting on this week?
Living a dream.
Just once, I want one of you to think, I'll let the other one answer first, instead of just both making noises at the same time.
You ask us at the same fucking time.
Yeah,
Just
well,
think. Just think.
we leave a little courtesy gap and then both jump into it at the same time.
Oh.
I think it adds to, the feel where one of us is always, oh yeah, this is great, and the other one's always, ugh.
Okay, so who's great this week and who is...
Go, Sam. It's up to you, sir. This is
Well,
your chance.
I thought you sounded very happy, and I definitely went, ah!
Well, yeah. Considering I'm on considering I'm on earlies, I'm actually really awake, which is really surprising because this is the last day of a long week for me.
No, see, it's only been an average length week for me, but stupid people have sucked my will to live.
Yeah, I'm feeling the tiredness end of the spectrum. Work is really picking up for me towards the end of the tax year, and
we didn't ask you.
Yeah, I know. Nobody cares about old Callum.
Well, you ask all the questions, mate. We don't.
Yeah, that's not our wheelhouse.
So no longer co-hosts then. Just weekly guests.
It's pretty much how this is, right?
No, I need you guys to do all the technological stuff. So sort of average Rona feeling weeks then. Been up to any hobby, either of you two?
I'll let Ricky go first this time.
Well, I know Sam has. I haven't done actual physical hobby as in play a game or paint anything. Oh, actually, that's a lie. I did. That's a lie. I don't even know. Jeez.
What did you do? You did some more on your Stonehorn, didn't you?
Yeah, exactly. That's it. I just looked over and went, oh Christ, yeah.
We've forgotten about AOS already.
Yeah, that's it. We chatted about it 2 weeks ago. It's over. No, so obviously we had a bit of a chat about it, and I got the buzz on, and it got the ogres out that weren't painted. So I started doing a bit of work on my Frostlord on Stonehorn. So I've done about half his spur now, which is pretty cool. And I did start digging out some old models and stuff like that. Some old aspect warriors I had sitting in boxes. I was kind of
just wanted to look
kind
at
of doing. Yeah, it was kind of like making lists and then actually having a physical look at the list as it appeared, rather than just always on paper. So I was literally just doing that, and that was about as exciting as my 2 weeks had been.
Just digging out multiple units of banshees and then sighing and crying into your own hands.
And warp spiders, yeah.
Well, warp spiders have got use.
Yeah, no, they're good. That's why I kind of dug them out, and the same with jet bikes. Not necessarily got use, but just pulled out. I think it was about another 24. I suddenly found in a box. It's like, oh,
banshees have use. They are an endless source of comedy on this podcast.
They are. Literally, I'm waiting for that codex to drop, and I'll be singing. They're going to be great. Honest. They're not going to be great, are they?
No, they are not.
Go on then, Sam. Embarrass us both.
Yeah.
I got a bit done. Not a massive amount. It was mostly finishing something that was very close to being done anyway, and then starting something new and not touching it again. So I finished off my Diddler drone, my flesh mower substitute, made from a Death Guard bloat drone and rotfly bits and pieces and some green stuff. I was pretty happy with how that came out. I got to play with my favourite old rust pigment again and make everything all crusty and grimy, and I love it.
Is that the stuff that looks like dried poo?
Yes.
Yeah, I love it.
Yes.
It's great.
Yeah. I love me a crusty Death Guardsman.
It's not rust.
So it's just dry poo and assorted filth. Make my own.
Oh no, yeah, that wasn't an insult at your rusting abilities, by the way. Just to me, it does look like poo, and that works really well.
That's how our brain works. I've accepted it. So yeah, I finished that up, and the list revision happened again, and I finally settled on one. I know we spoke about this the other day, but yes, revision 6 of the Death Guard army is the one. I think I'm happy with it. I've got enough variants in it, and I added some Death Shroud because they, on paper, look absolutely savage in this edition. So I've squeezed in a minimum unit of them.
Terminators, yeah.
Yeah, the guys with the big scythes.
Yeah.
For the frontage of that unit, so where you can squeeze them in deep striking and stuff like that, they're absolutely great. Three of them can just. Yeah, they're a.
Well, they're supposed to be his posse, so I would imagine they would be.
Yeah,
they're pretty good.
Yeah, outsized damage for their footprint, really good.
Well, yeah, especially with the new weapon profile on the old scythes, with the ability to go horde clearing or clomping big things, cricket bat style.
Killing space marines or everything else. Yeah,
more than one option on the weapon.
Yeah, and they've got there's an upgrade for the unit champion that gives him the same ability as the Lord of Contagion, where it extends their contagion range by 3 inches. So points well spent.
Oh, that's his jingly little keys, isn't it?
Yeah, he's got the little jingly bells.
Yeah.
Oh, I love how daft they are.
Always find points for that. Yeah, they're ridiculous. They're absolutely stunning. I wanted to shoehorn some into a list a long time ago, but then didn't really know what direction the book was going. So I was like, I'm not going to bother buying them just yet. And then I did, and now I don't regret it. They're beautiful. Love them.
Awesome.
I also dug out my Fire Slayer case and went rooting through there. I was like, roll around, and then didn't have time to actually, do anything with them. But I had a tea break this afternoon, and jingled about with some lists. Yeah,
nice.
Got some direction.
Starts.
Ah, sweet. That's what I like to hear.
What about you, Mr. Clallam?
Don't ask him.
I thought I'd treat him.
I did. I have done some hobby. It's not very exciting. I took apart a metal Vargulf and stripped it, and then I haven't done anything else apart from write army lists for people.
For people.
Yeah, well, I've been people have been asking for help, and so maybe not whole army lists, but sort of discussing. Like
seriously,
I've been talking
about
a
coffee account.
I've been
Callum Slater, army list consultant. Bum, bum, bum.
I know what I'm talking about until that person puts it into practice, and then
I make good. Paper list.
Yeah, well, no, like I say, I've not been. Okay, lists is probably the wrong. I'm struggling to get the wax off my bottle of.
Choices.
I'm struggling to get the wax off my bottle of rum bullion, and it's starting to annoy me now.
I know. I can hear the squeaking. That's why I went. What the hell was that earlier?
Yeah,
I could just hear this. Ee!
Yeah. I need to get it off because I need the delicious rum that's on the inside.
I just assumed it was Callum's tiny homunculus butler.
Yeah.
But your rum master.
Oh dear. So I've spent some time. Where's a hobby knife? There's one. Yeah, so I've spent
Careful.
a lot of time in the Necron Codex over the last couple of weeks, and also looking at Dark Angels. So
Don't be tempted.
picked up.
Don't fall.
I'm
Dark
pretty.
Angels, that's a slippery slope. Oh,
Classic
okay.
Dark Angel joke. Good humour.
That's it. You got to appeal to them all, mate.
yeah. So it is a good book. It hits the expectations of what I was talking about the other week. It's very good. Maybe not as all powerful stomping as the internet's initial reaction, but if you want a Marine army that can do everything, they do everything very well. So that's pretty cool.
That's good. I do enjoy the internet's reactions to a lot of things, though.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, so that's been fun. So, big news from GW. We're recording this on Friday the 19th, and GW lumped another secret preview on us earlier this week. So we've got an AOS-themed preview tomorrow.
Guesses? Shall we guess?
So from the silhouettes of the models that they've released so far, so they've said it's a purely AOS one for AOS, Underworld, and Quest. So I would expect to see the rest of the Quest stuff, the rest of the characters.
Finish off the box.
Yeah, rest of the characters, maybe the big bad guy, and maybe some other little bits and pieces. And I would imagine we'll see the next two Underworld warbands, which are... So they've started to show the Bone Splitters. Oh my god, I'm in. Okay. So they've started to show the Bone Splitters over the last couple of weeks. And then next we've got the Ossiarch Bone Reapers and the Idoneth Deepkin warbands. So I imagine we'll see...
Was there going to be a Bone Reaper one?
Yeah, there's a Bone Reaper one.
They did. I don't remember them saying about it.
Yeah, it's in the roadmap they've been putting out. So it's
is it?
So obviously they've just released the Slaves to Darkness warband. Next, obviously they've previewed the Seraphon one. They've previewed the Vampire one. So next is Bone Splitters.
Have they done all of the Bone Splitters, or are they just shown one or two of them?
Two of them so far.
Two of them.
There's one with like lightning claws made of bone.
Yeah.
And then there's the other one which is just naked with a big stick, which is great.
As I would expect.
Yeah, and then the next two symbols, they showed a silhouette of a Bone Reaper character, which looks in there.
I must have missed that one.
Yeah, it's in their quite distinctive samurai bone shaped armor.
Okay.
And the next symbol along is the one for the Idoneth Deepkin. So
you're still not in it.
Beautiful.
Hey! That's a sound and a half. Oh, listen to it pour.
Nectar of the gods.
Have you got ice?
Oh yeah, the ice is already in the glass.
Oh, good man.
Yes, so that's quite cool. So I imagine we'll see at least one of those warbands tomorrow, and then
the silhouette they mentioned today.
Yeah, so the silhouette they mentioned today, which which seems to be. I saw some people go, "Oh my god, it might be a Bretonian," and that's not going to be what's because it's clearly a mounted knight with a big hat, a lance, and a shield. So
it's got a silhouette of the old mounted White Lord.
I saw that. Yeah, it seems very, very reminiscent of that. So, but I would imagine it's going to be the Soulblight Grave Lords are going to be a big thing tomorrow. We're going to see a lot of that range. I imagine. And
it would make sense after the leaks as well.
Yes, yeah. I think they were probably next on the list anyway because of where they're going story-wise with the Broken Realms. So the next one is Teclis taking the Lumineth Realm Lords into Shyish to go fight Nagash. So it would make sense to spring out like a new death faction to go fight them. And
Cool.
so that could be quite cool. Little tidbit that I noticed that there's a few content creators who get previews of things, so they get like codexes and stuff a little bit early.
Yeah,
and some of them are doing watch parties this weekend that haven't done watch parties before.
Oh, this sounds like a GW push. Then.
And not to sound conspiratorial, but I would imagine we might get some big news from AOS. Like, I'm not expecting a new edition because they haven't like dropped the crumbs that they did for the 40k one. Like we sort of knew that was definitely coming when they did their announcement one for it. But we may see like the next big expansion for Age of Sigmar, whether or not we're going to get an edition this year or
small tables.
Well, yeah, small tables would be good. Secondaries would be good. Yeah, loads of stuff.
I mean, if it's finally small tables, I might cut my mats out.
Oh, don't! Can you imagine? Can you imagine? Awful.
Yeah, that's a lot of blunts.
It's just mainly because of the amount of time it took to put all the tape on them for confrontation.
Took 3 of us like 2 hours.
Yeah,
that was a fun evening.
Yeah, that was a good evening. Yeah, so I imagine we're going to see like that's just pure speculation on seeing something odd that I'd noticed and a couple of people had mentioned, and so that'd be interesting to see if that's just a coincidence or this being a purely AOS themed one, whether or not we are going to see something.
I mean, it'll be good to see something new.
Yeah, I'm kind of intrigued what they're going to do with Stormcast, and I mean we've got some time to talk about it, so we might as well do now. Like, no new Stormcast stuff's been released for like 3 years.
Has it been that long?
Yeah, so they got the Sacrosanct Chamber at the start of this edition, and other than like the odd like character or alternative sculpt that's come out, they've not had anything new.
And Sacrosanct was the wizards, right?
And all the priests. Yeah.
The Ghostbusters chamber.
Yes, yeah.
That's it.
And that's really cool. And I don't like to draw comparisons between them and Space Marines because I think the two games, those factions mean two very different things for the games that they represent.
I feel it is more about order than it is a specific faction. Does that make sense? Like, rather than just focusing on Stormcast like you do a Space Marine.
Yeah.
I feel like they focus on order a bit more. So it's almost like maybe Stormcast have taken a back step and now the Elven time is here.
Yeah. Well, yeah. No, I'd entirely agree. Like they've been pumping out elves for a while now, and we've still got like potentially 2 Elven factions to come out with Tyrion's elves and Milarian's elves, which would be really cool. But it is the Age of Sigmar, so I mean, I wouldn't be surprised that if tomorrow we get like
was the Age of Sigmar.
No, it is.
They just add a word, mix it up.
Weos. No, that's not going to work. I wouldn't be surprised tomorrow if we get like, oh, here's some cool like Underworlds bits. Here's some more stuff for Quest. Here are the Blight Lords, and then at the end of it, they go, oh, we've got another video, and then it's like a Space Marine level release for Stormcast, where like when every time a Marine Codex comes out, there's like 10, 11 new units and characters and stuff.
Yeah,
and they sort of drop that in a big heavy metal like.
And don't forget, anytime
I do enjoy them.
Yeah. Anytime another race gets a new model, the Space Marines need their equal attention gifts.
Yes, yeah. So I wouldn't be surprised if they do that, and I wouldn't be surprised if we saw more of the Lumineth as well. That was sort of partly previewed in the last update. So that could be quite cool. So that's a bit of rampant speculation. Obviously, this episode goes out after, so you can laugh at us when we're wrong.
Yeah, I was about to say, let's see how wrong we are.
So that's all good fun. And other than that, like new release wise, the Slaanesh book, so the Header Knights of Slaanesh and the Daughters of Cain books are out tomorrow, and it seems to be that the Daughters of Cain have got better, which is really cool. And the Slaanesh have gone through a complete rewrite in AOS and seem to have taken the blunt end of the big beaty stick. But they've got a load of new options now. They've got a full model range, I'd probably say. They're a complete faction now. So I'm looking to seeing those armies on the table, because the sort of mortal Hedonite stuff, those models are just outstanding.
Yeah, it looks
they've
fabulous.
done well with it.
Yeah. So I'm hoping that there is sort of like room for them. So if you went to an AOS event, there would be at least be like a mortal Slaanesh army there. I hope they've got a build.
I mean, it's no bigger or smaller than the blood chappies, is it? The Khorne faction.
It's about the same. It's about the same now. And the same for like Tzeentch. They've only really got a couple of unique mortal units, in the Zangor and the all of the Arcanite stuff. The little guys who shoot fire out of their hands. Can't remember what they're called. Acolytes. So it's pretty much bringing them up to the same, and then sort of Nurgle are just languishing without an update at the moment. So
sad gurgling noise.
Yeah, I mean they got a big, well, they got
a very good book.
It was very good at the time. It's at the moment it seems to be they've mispointed the Blight Kings, and now they're just like ridiculously cheap for the amount of wounds and attacks they give out. But that seems to be the only thing the Nurgle book can do reliably, is just sort of sit in the middle of the board and not die, and it's not very interesting. So hopefully they get a full rewrite sometime.
That's pretty much what they were in 40k.
Well, yeah, but now they do interesting things like give you aids, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, and to some that's quite interesting.
I find that real interesting. So it's that can be quite cool. And other than that, there's been no real big releases as far as I'm aware. I mean, two battle tomes and an entirely new model range are quite good.
Yeah, it's a fairly hefty release.
Yeah,
just looking at it now, that Slaanesh range is stunning, isn't it?
Yeah, outstanding.
Yeah,
and yeah. So hopefully we'll see some of them on the table. Oh, well, the big news is that they provided some more pictures of Sigvald, obviously because he's on pre-order at the moment and released for tomorrow, and he's wearing arseless chaps.
Yep,
and it's the best, most Slaanesh-y thing ever. He's front, like literally neck to toe in armor on the front,
it?
And then just behind, he's just got his ass hanging out.
Mr. Belvedere. Woo!
See, I thought you were going to talk about what they announced today, not him with his arseless chaps.
What was announced today?
What are you going to talk about? Win your basket.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah. So
I filled my basket.
I've not yet.
With just a ton of
so GW have launched their integration of your Forge World and Games Workshop web store accounts with the My Warhammer website, which you currently use to update the 40k app. So now it's sort of that will be your hub for logging into that, updating your 40k stuff, and then going to those websites. And to sort of announce that integration, I think they're picking like 3 or 5. So if you go in,
I think it's 5.
So if you go into the GW website and just put up to 300 quid's worth of stuff in your GW or Forge World basket, they're going to take a snapshot of that in like the next week, and then they'll just pick 5 of them at random just to send to people for free. So you don't actually have to buy anything; you just have to sell it in your basket and then try and resist not clicking buy now.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
How many baskets have you bought already?
It's all right.
I've
I think I've put in over 500 quid in both, and then I 100% did not press buy.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I wouldn't be here right now.
I'm very chased out of your home. I'm very tempted to just put Smaug in one and see if GW are going to send me a Smaug for free.
Brilliant. That's it. I probably got optimistic with like 2 Scorpions, a couple more Lynxes, tons of Shadow Spectres. You know, I might have got a bit optimistic.
Chuck some Howling Banshees in there and they'll feel sorry for you.
They're in the other one. They're in the other basket.
So that's quite cool. Like anytime GW do those competitions, I mean the Battleforge app one, they're just doing month on month now. So every month, if you put up a list from the Battleforge app, they'll just pick one random person and give it to them, which is really cool. Fab. So this episode is the first first in a possibly limited series, maybe not too frequent, whatever, of us speaking to members of the Warhammer and extended community that people want us to speak to. So this week, we've got the wonderful Mr. Chris Revell from Tabletop Standard, which is I'm not sure if I'm right when I make this claim, but
he's going to make it anyway.
the biggest and best Adeptus Titanicus channel in the world. I'm going to say world.
I think so. To be fair, he could preach that because you can advertise what you want unless someone can prove you otherwise.
until there's another channel out there which has more subscribers.
Yeah, basically. And then you have to go. All right, I'll take that down.
So enjoy the.
We are the best podcast in the world.
Oh, I don't even feel right claiming that.
I don't want my name put behind that statement.
So enjoy the hold music, and on the other side we'll be chatting to Chris about Adeptus Titanicus and the hobby in general. Stay put. Brilliant. Thanks for waiting there, guys. So Callum, Sam and Ricky. And we are now joined by the very handsome, the very talented Mr. Chris Revell of Tabletop Standard fame.
Is that me? Thank you.
That's you.
Oh.
Yes, fellas, you're right.
Yeah, all good. Thank you. How are you getting on, Chris?
Yeah, good. Really good. Busy. Really busy. In a good way. It's all hobby stuff.
Oh, that's all right then. When you're busy with hobby, then the world's in a good
falling
place.
Apart.
Yeah.
And if you're busy with work, then we need to worry, surely.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I try to do more of this than I do work, so it's tilt the scales the other way.
Fantastic. So for those listening that sort of maybe aren't aware of Tabletop Standard, do you want to give us a quick brief into that and a little bit about yourself, Chris?
Oh, crikey. Okay, on the spot. So Tabletop Standard is predominantly, 100% at the moment, a YouTube channel focusing on Adeptus Titanicus from Games Workshop. So that's it for now. I would like to expand, but I don't want to say too much just yet. But
You heard it here first.
Yeah, yeah. Titanicus is our bread and butter. And me, God, you don't want to know about me, do you? I'm just an old, bald man that likes playing with toy soldiers.
That's brilliant. That's 3 out of 4 of us.
Yeah.
Damn you, Ricky, and your lovely blonde hair. So we sort of know Chris primarily through our local gaming club in Havant. I think that's where we first met. Is that right?
Yeah. I came along because I needed a club. I needed somewhere to play some games, and you are, I would say, the best club I've been to on the south. And yeah, you're kind of, I mean, it's been a while because of COVID, but you're kind of stuck with me, I think.
Yeah, well, we appreciate the kind words, and yeah, we're happy to be stuck with you, mate. That's fine. So yeah. So yeah, I think you started coming to the Hammond Club probably a good 3 or 4 years ago now, probably.
Yeah, possibly.
Yeah. And so that's really cool. And then just sort of since then, I think you've played at like a couple of our like smallish club events.
Yeah,
you played a bit of 40k. You played a bit of AOS. Is that right?
Yeah. So I mean, with Games Workshop, I mean, I've been a Games Workshopper for 30 odd plus years since I was like 9 years old. And bear in mind, I'm 40 now. So, but I've been in kind of a limbo with it, and 40k and AOS was kind of filling a hole. And when they re-released Titanicus, and it kind of gave me something that I always wanted, that I used to play when I was younger, all those small scale games. That's kind of where my passions are. So I've just fallen straight back into it and love it. Yeah,
that's great, because I think that was going to be one of my like main questions was so like why Titanicus above everything else. But I think we'll talk about that a bit further in. So other than being a content creator, because I mean that is what you're doing with your channel, producing some really great battle reports for possibly like maybe like an underserved part of the community. I would probably say Titanicus is. I know that there's a lot of people out there who love it and have it, but obviously compared to things like AOS and 40k, you really don't see a lot of it online, especially on YouTube, I would say.
You don't see a lot of it on YouTube. I think the online community is pretty good. I only do, to be honest, I don't really enjoy Facebook as a website, but the Facebook community is quite strong. There's loads of it on Instagram, which is kind of how I fell into social media in the first place. Because before I started doing this, I didn't do any of it really. So yeah, there's quite a lot going on, but yeah, there's not much on YouTube at all. And I think specialist games have always been like this, haven't they? I think that's why, years ago when G-Dubs weren't pulling in the pounds they are now, they kind of binned all that stuff, and it all kind of went underground, didn't it? But it's got it's like a renaissance now, isn't it? So
yeah, the ginger stepchild's been allowed out of the basement.
No, I mean, I wouldn't go that far. I mean, it's a pretty good game.
No, I mean, I would totally agree with you there. Sort of, there's always been, even when like specialist games you could even buy in a GW store, there were people who loved their specialist game, and then everyone else just sort of had bits and pieces for it. So I imagine that's not really changed a lot now. So there's people like yourself who just love like Necromunda and Adeptus Titanicus, and there's these great communities built around those particular games that you don't have to deep into the great unwashed mess of Facebook to chat 40k with people, because that's an absolute nightmare.
Well, yeah, I mean, I forgot what I was going to say now, but yeah, the specialist games, I think as well with the 3D printing and that being so good now, like your games like Epic, Battlefleet Gothic, War Master, there are places and people that are making stuff for that, and people are lapping it up. I think all that stuff is coming back in a big way, and that
keeps the old games alive.
It does. I mean, I think people are all making do with their old stuff. I mean, the eBay market for those older games, the prices and stuff was massive. And now you go online, you Google War Master, and you'll find a German company doing little tiny skeleton hordes and that, and you think, this is fantastic.
So does War Master have good value at the moment then?
Oh, I don't know about War Master particularly.
Ricky eyeing his retirement fund again.
No,
I have a very sizable War Master army sitting in a box.
I mean, just the reason I said War Master, because I was literally like scanning the internet, and I found this company that are making 10 mil fantasy miniatures like brand new. They're churning out all the races, starter sets. And I just think, it's like affordable. The prints look amazing. Anyone that's into those old games, it's like it's all back. It's all out there. Titanicus is different. It's that old game, but it's like it's Games Workshop. It's completely supported. Yeah. The models are brilliant. So,
no, absolutely. Because I can remember when a few of us were getting, we were dipping our toes back into Epic before Titanicus was released a few years ago, and like people were digging out their old armies and stuff, and we were like, oh, okay, well, we'll look at like, obviously there's rules for like Tau in Epic, and I like Tau. And then you would go on to like some of these websites where people were producing models, and you were like, three stands of battle suits were 30 quid or whatever back in the days. But that's come on a long way, obviously, as technology does in over a very short period of time. So I imagine it's much easier to do that sort of thing now.
I think as well, those kind of games, and like myself, I think it is for the old grognards. It is the older people. It really is. And maybe that community and that group of people, they're just happy playing their games with their mates, or that one person they play games with. They're not bothered about watching stuff on YouTube and going on Facebook. It's might be a generational thing as well. Yeah,
I see. I would totally agree. There are. I mean, if that's what you did potentially, 20, 25 years ago, and you've and that's how you enjoyed it, and like large scale events and like metas and things weren't really around. If that's what you enjoy doing, then absolutely crack on with it. I mean, Warhammer at every level deserves to be played as long as you enjoy it.
100%.
Yeah, and I always just wondered that if you've got all the big channels, haven't you? And it's all 40k in OS, and that's fine. But I did think, is anyone going to do this? Is anyone going to cover this and push it along or try? And well, apparently no, just me, really. I think.
So definitely biggest and best Adeptus Titanicus channel in the world. Because I did claim that earlier in the episode.
Because it's the only one.
Still counts.
So 100% accurate. Well done. Well done, Chris.
Top of the tree.
So when I said, until someone proves them otherwise, go for it.
I mean, you need
one listener
drivers,
in Cameroon.
You need something to... I don't know.
Our one listener in Cameroon might start up a West African league just to prove you wrong now, but it's still more Titanicus, isn't it?
Chap in Singapore.
Yeah. Actually, I can do an update of our international listeners, because actually a few more countries popped up on the list, so I'll run through that later.
Do you get good analytics on this thing?
Yeah. Well, I think it's good, but I don't understand how computers work. So it's probably a very basic level of information, but I can break it down to sort of like regions in countries and stuff, which is quite
right.
Cool.
And is that on? Because you post on loads of stuff, YouTube statistics on mine.
Yeah, so Sam handles all of the YouTube stuff, and I handle everything on Anchor. That's our recording platform, and then that's where it posts to all of the other. So it posts to like Apple Podcasts and Spotify and everything from there, and that's quite good. I mean, yeah, it's quite interesting.
Works for us.
I mean, the assumption is that everybody from an international location is just using a VPN, but I claim that those people are from those countries. Yeah.
Ricky, was it you on your last podcast where you said you had the Hello? Slight tangent. I've got a question for you.
That was weird.
Was it in the last podcast you said you had the your bathroom fitters in? And I just reminded me, because Callum said, "Oh, did he take the mick out of your hobby room and that?" And you kind of said, "No, I didn't kind of see it." And that I said, "Well, I had my plumber in doing the central heating once, and he kind of wandered into where I do all my filming, and I just caught him standing there
Yeah.
And I thought, oh, this
And
is
then-
going to go wrong. This is going
You
to go
turned
one of
around and
two
looked really
ways.
scared, and you were like, "I'm going to have to kill you now." And now he lives in the basement.
He just turned around and he went, no, this is great. This is great. He goes, I wish I had a hobby. And I went, all right. He goes, I just like crisps.
What a hero!
Oh my god!
I know. I just thought, oh, well, it's something.
You are like 6'4" though, aren't
No,
you?
6'1", average height
Average height, yeah, all right.
for a Viking.
Not for a Warhammer player.
Well, no.
Stunted growth.
Average girth.
Average is good enough.
Yeah, no, I managed to keep it all under wraps. To be fair, there was so much dust, I had to keep all the doors closed anyway.
Right, fair.
Yeah, dust,
Honest.
not shame, and not that anybody
Dust,
should be
not
ashamed
shame.
of their hobby. It's a wonderful,
Not
beautiful
at
thing.
all.
Exactly.
And so that's great. So, tabletop standard, Chris.
Yes.
Where did that name come from? Because your models are not tabletop standards.
Yes, they are very, very above.
That's some over humbleness, I believe.
All right, well,
on your part.
I'm not too ashamed to admit that your Instagram feed serves all my need for beat boot robot porn. It's stunning.
well, thank you very much. But it is, I don't do anything complicated. It is like base coat, layer, shade, edge, and I do as much as I can with an airbrush because that's just so much easier. But yeah, thank you very much. But yeah, tabletop standard. Basically, I didn't do any social media at all. And I found that companies and shops are all going online rather than having a website. So I kind of had to join into the thing. And then my wife used Instagram and I was like, oh, what's that all about then? And she showed me and I looked at some Warhammer stuff. I thought, this is brilliant. It's just pictures of like people's brilliant artwork. This is all I need to look at. It's just pictures. So I joined up and I thought I'll start posting my own stuff. So tabletop standard was literally just an Instagram handle because all I was doing was posting miniatures I painted. There was no thoughts at all at doing any YouTube or battle reports or anything at that point. And then I just kept the name and transferred it over, really, and that's it.
Yeah, great. I do quite like all of the main social media platforms have kind of got their own identity within the sort of GW community. So looking at it, like Facebook is very much where the great unwashed masses of 40k conversation happens, and with that you get the real doldrums of 40k players who are mouth breathing nonsense speakers, just shouting at everything, which unfortunately a lot of 40k people are. And then as it seems to be a lot of the AOS communities on Twitter. And then everybody who wants to show off their really fancy models lives on Instagram. So you definitely live there. I don't know how Instagram works. I just occasionally post up a picture of a model and then chuck a couple of hashtags on it. I'm sure I'm doing it wrong.
That's pretty much it, though.
But
that is it.
I've gone from I don't actually post on Instagram as much anymore because it's more I'm making. I mean, as of the last few months, I've been making more videos and I've been painting models. So my priority has kind of changed, really. YouTube is what I enjoy doing and what I'd like to do, and it serves me better. And Instagram is kind of more like a news feed for it now. It's completely changed. I mean, you look at my earlier stuff, it's anything I've done. Now it's all pretty much just channel stuff and AT.
that's
Is there plans to move away from YouTube and move to a more I don't know, like a channel like Twitch or something like that, which seems to be quite popular with the Warhammer communities for streaming and so on?
The thing is, YouTube's a very easy platform to use, and it provides me with like even music, so I can use their music libraries. I can't, once I use music on that video, I can't take it anywhere else because they've got the license for it. So it's very easy to to use YouTube. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the future will bring. We'll have to wait and see. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it is. I'm passionate about it. I want it to work. I want it to be something that people enjoy. I enjoy doing it. But yeah, it's still, we're only in our second year, and the last year's been COVID. So,
all right. You should start an OnlyFans.
Only Princeps.
Yes.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, send us a donation. I'll get my volcano cannon out.
Yeah.
That's it.
What's OnlyFans? You have to explain it to me.
So OnlyFans is kind of like a subscription service, a bit like Patreon, if you're clued up with Patreon.
Yeah, a little bit.
So kind of the same behind that, and then you can't access anything without paying.
Where people get their tits out,
and
on
it's
the
usually
internet
used.
and you pay them a monthly.
Yeah.
It's usually used by girls where they get their tits out and do live stream pole dancing. And
I did know that. I just wanted you to say it out loud.
It is the reason Ricky's installed a pole in his house.
I'm pretty sure we could see that in the picture you sent earlier, Ricky. So,
yeah, that wasn't.
Anyway, so obviously YouTube is where Tabletop Standard seems to live, and there's quite a lot on there that you've produced over the last couple of years, and the quality is great. Like the actual level of the content that you put out is good. All your overlays are great, and your battle reports are awesome. So it's good that you've sort of and there's, I think from our conversations before, you're just sort of like self-taught with it, aren't you? You don't come from you don't really come from like a media background or anything like that. So that's really
I work with water.
Yeah.
And he likes Christmas.
that was the plumber.
Yeah. But so that's cool. I mean, So carry on.
So I've got no technology background at all. So the whole thing has been a journey to get this far, which is good, learning new stuff. I have got a good buddy who works in computers who has helped me with various things. So Matt, he's been very helpful. And then the rest of it, I've basically been looking at tutorials on YouTube, how to edit this, how to cut this. And so this is where we are. It's getting better. I'm a lot happier with it now than I was sort of a year ago.
That's great. That's just what we use Sam for.
Yep.
Someone to bounce jokes off of and then cut the episodes together.
That's really
that's
savage.
exactly right.
Really accurate.
I think actually when I first approached Sam in regards to it, he wasn't actually supposed to be on it.
No.
Yeah.
It was just you and
Did
me.
you say no, Sam? You're like, no, not interested.
His price was too high.
I don't even know how it happened.
I think this was a conversation in a car with me and Callum, maybe about 2 or 3 years ago.
Oh, possibly.
That's where this came from. And then I think I just bugged you and went, should we just do this? I found this platform.
Yeah. I was like, people on the internet need to hear my opinions because I'm right and everybody else is wrong. And I love the sound of my own voice. So unfortunately, everybody else has to sort of pay for it.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, that's the only reason anyone does anything like this, isn't it? It's just ego, pure ego.
Absolutely. And that's Chris.
A bit like OnlyFans.
I think they probably do that for the money, Ricky. But yeah, that's coming from Chris from the biggest and best Adeptus Titanicus channel in the world. So definitely worth a watch. So just sort of on the subject of Titanicus, that's really why you're here. Why your channel's so popular, because it is the place for people to go for Titanicus stuff. So what makes Titanicus as a game, like, what really grasps you with it other than the low model count and beautiful models, you think?
The terminal probably makes the game.
Mm-hmm.
For anyone that hasn't seen Titanicus or looked at it, every unit has or every Titan has a terminal. So you have this piece of cardboard basically, and it.
Is that what I see on the table? Is it? And I said, is that what I see on the table?
You've got these little terminals with your little pins in it and stuff, and it's resource management all the time, and it makes the game so in depth. You've got to manage your reactor, you've got to manage your void shields. You take damage, you can repair damage. The damage you've got affects your Titan. Every turn, your Titan is not doing the same thing. If you play 40k and you've got a attack squad of Marines, they're the same until they die for the whole game. Yeah, mm-hmm. The numbers are less as they take casualties, but they do exactly the same thing for the whole game. A Titan will not do that. It will take damage. It will get immobilized. It will have reactor leaks. It will overheat. You'll have shields 1 minute. You won't have shields the next. Your weapons can get disabled. So it's managing that resource, and I just think it's brilliant. And it takes the massive competitive feel out the game because it's just so narrative. It's just vibes, and I love it.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. From the games that I've played, it felt in a way, even stylistically, it's very similar to War Machine and Hordes in the way that you've got these big models that you've got to essentially either resource manage or risk manage.
Yes.
And I always found that I was always running all of my Titans hot all of the time. Because Brilliant. I like to play in a super aggressive way, and I like it when things explode. So, but I like that there's, you see that level of the game being in depth. Each model has all of these different things going on at the same time. Plus, then you've got Titans and stuff shooting at you. Like it is definitely good fun, and the models are great. There's something that I that I really love. Not so much painting, unfortunately. I've struggled to actually get a decent amount of paint on my stuff. But it is I've not enjoyed a game of Titanicus that I've played.
It's got mechanics that are just unlike the other. I mean, suppose you say mainstream GW games, and it's the rules that really. I mean, the models are beautiful. It's very easy to look at it and go, "That's fantastic." I love the scale. I love what you can do with terrain and board setups with 8 to 10 mil scale in itself. I love the setting. I love the Horus Heresy. So that for me is a big draw. It's just good. You don't need a lot to invest in it to play good games, which is good. It's got a good entry level.
I've never dipped my toe into it. So is there what sort of size is like an average game? Because I used to love rocking around with my Titan Legions playing Epic, and it's got that sort of vibe to me. Like I love big robots kicking the shit out of each other, and just the miniature range, like the updated miniature range, is just stunning.
A typical sized game is, I suppose, a mid-size, if you like, match play game is 1750 points, and you'll probably have maybe 5 Titans, depending on what Titans you take. I mean, if you take Warhounds, you'll get a lot more. A Warhound's about 200 points. A Reaver's about 300. Warbringer's about 4, and a Warlord's about 5. So if you're looking at 1750, you can roughly work out how many you're going to get. So you've got about 4 or 5 Titans. Each Titan's like a character in itself, and you can do a lot with them. The mechanics are very in depth, and they're very good. It's a very slick game. It's only had one FAQ since the game's been released. I mean, it does need another one. There are things we're finding, and that's fine, but it's only had one FAQ since the game's been released, and it's still coping very well.
How viable would you say an all night army is? Because I remember when they were teasing the book that had all the night stuff in it, and I know Callum and I spoke about I love the idea of like a tide of knights crawling over the Titans and shit.
Yes, you can do all night lists. I can't remember which book it is now, but it's got night lists. They increased the points for the Cerastus Knights because they were really, really broken. No, the Adeptus, sorry, the Porphorians. So again, 17, 1, 2, 3. We might have about 20 knights or so.
Because that's where I think I'm at. I've got multiple warlords, multiple reavers, multiple warhounds. But I started to paint a bunch of it during lockdown 1 last year and during my furlough, and like painting a model like that large, like consistently without an airbrush, because I'm not a huge fan of actually me painting stuff with an airbrush was a bit of a chore. I liked how it looked in the end, but I didn't want to replicate that over like another 6 or 7 Titans. So multiple knights like running around the battlefield is really where I was sort of leaning, and it's good to hear that they've got a place in the game.
They've got loads. They've released more knights than they have Titans.
Yeah.
Titanicus, people were calling it, but it's a completely different game with knights because their mechanics are different. So it's a completely different play style with knights. Their terminals are different. They don't have the critical damage and the void shields like Titans do. So that in itself, I think, is a good thing because it gives the game another angle. But yeah, it's completely feasible to play with knights. I wasn't a big fan of them when they first came out. In the last game I played, which was a long time ago now, I had a knight list and I actually really enjoyed it. So I've actually changed my mind and I'm building a second knight list now.
Looking at the range, I kind of feel like I might get suckered into rebuilding like a modern equivalent of my old Titan Legion army by the looks of it. The new Reavers are stunning, and that Warbringer is a bit tasty looking, isn't he?
Yeah, they're great. They're all good. There's nothing I don't like at the moment.
Yeah.
The release has been strong. It's very nostalgic, isn't it? Everyone knows the old Titans. I think it'll be strange for them. They've got the new one coming out, the War Master, and I think they've got loads of new Titans, I think, planned. I think it's going to be a good next couple of years, be really good for Titanicus. But we're going to start seeing new stuff, and I think it'd be weird for people because they won't have those references or the nostalgia, which is big with war games, isn't it? They like their old stuff.
Yeah, definitely.
Do you really think they'd produce something new?
They already have.
Fresh
yeah,
from
the War Master's been announced. It's coming out.
Yeah, but the War Master is still built on a sketch based. From it's still in lore. It's still
They just give Jez
Goodwin.
But it was just a sketch. There was no rules. There was no model. There was no name.
No, of course. But I mean more like something completely off the bat, fresh, never seen before.
Yeah, I think they will.
I don't think they go that far.
Yeah, I think they have to. I think that there's loads of names of Titans in novels that are referenced, but there's no description or models or pictures. So yeah, I think they'll go crazy for it.
I'd like to see something really wacky, like in like the later stages of the Heresy, you get some of like the possessed Titans and stuff. I'd love to see some of that.
That's definitely happening because they're already referenced in the rulebooks.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So they've got the Psi Titan out, and there are rules referencing. I can't remember what they're called. Not possessed. You think I'd know this, wouldn't you? Doing a bloody YouTube channel. But yeah, basically, corrupted Titans and corrupted Knights are already mentioned in the rulebooks.
That's good.
Brilliant.
Yeah, there's a lot of that was one thing that I noticed, that there's a lot of future proofing in the rules.
Absolutely.
size-wise, which is really cool.
The thing is with wargamers, you probably find it is they want everything now.
Absolutely.
And it's just
I've not
relax,
noticed.
it will come. Just
just gotta wait. And that's a perfect point. So we're just going to take a quick break because Ricky probably needs a wee. And if you just join us on the other side of this break, we will continue to chat with Chris and talk about some more Titans. Thanks very much. Okay, fantastic. Thanks for sticking with us. I'm not sure what the hold music was this week. I don't know if it was more elevator music or dubstep. Really depends on how Sam is feeling that day. So Callum, still with Chris and Ricky, and we're just continuing our conversation with Chris from Tabletop Standard about Titanicus. So we've sort of done, obviously had a bit of a conversation about you and how the channel started and why you feel so connected to Titanicus. Where do you think the game itself is going to go in the future? Because I know that obviously because it's a Horus Heresy focused game, it's a very, it's almost not that every game is a mirror match, but everybody has the same pool of models. I think when we were talking a couple of weeks ago, Ricky, you were wondering whether or not there's going to be expansions into other races.
Yeah, big thing for me. So obviously everyone knows I'm a big Eldar fan. And I'm not just saying like, oh, you guys have got Titan game, I want to be part of this. But it's obviously the Eldar Titans are referenced in 40k through the Forge World models and stuff. But you only actually get 2 variants of what they have. There is 3 variants that are known to the Imperium, because you also have the Warlock Titan as well, which is the bigger version of the Phantom that comes with obviously the all the Farsirs and Warlocks and stuff like that, spirits shoved inside. But they're the only ones that are obviously known to the Imperium. So they've always referenced that there will be more. There are more. It would just be nice that bring them in potentially to the game. Could it happen? Do you think it might happen? I think it would be amazing.
Elder players thinking about themselves again.
Yeah. Or you mean like, I'm not even going to go there.
I completely agree with you, Ricky. I think it would be amazing. I'd like to see Eldar and Orcs because they fit in with the Great Crusade.
Of course, Orcs as well, yeah.
Yeah, I'd love to see all that. I think
they're the 2 races that the Horus Heresy had the biggest clashes with anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. They're in the novels. The Great Crusade, it was the Orcs, Alanor, and all that stuff. So, it's all there. I think people would lap it up. It would be really good for the game. I think the game's in a great place at the moment. They've got so much they can do. I don't think they're in any rush, and I think that's a good thing. The release schedule suits me quite well financially.
The only downside I can see to it is that I was a big Gothic fan, and I loved classic spaceship battles between Chaos and the Imperium because the game mechanics were built entirely around those 2 races.
Mm-hmm.
When you started introducing the alien races, especially when it got to Eldar and Necrons, they were such advanced races compared to the Imperium and Chaos. They genuinely ran rings around them. There was almost nothing that the Imperial races could do versus them.
Yeah, legitimately ruined the game.
They 100%. They just absolutely dominated it, and I wouldn't want to see that happen. But I really still want to see, those races involved.
At the same time, I want a Titan.
At the same time, I want a Titan.
It's down to the rules writers, isn't it? Just to write good rules.
Course,
the models will sell themselves. So, I think they'll take this to Terra, and we'll get corrupted Titans and all that stuff by then. And then, I'd like to see Orcs. I'd like to see them go back to like Great Crusade and Eldar Titans. Eldar Titans be really fast, hard to hit, fold like a piece of paper.
Exactly. Less firepower as well, but when they hit hard,
Yeah.
that kind of thing. They're completely different aesthetic.
I mean, with GW being in the Renaissance, I mean, are we going to see Battlefield Gothic? Are we going to see Epic come back? You just don't know.
They did speak of both of those on the timeline when they started reintroducing the specialist games. Where they're going to come in is, well, when should I say they're going to come in? It's a completely different story, but they did say they were going to do them.
Yeah,
they promised.
I would say Obviously, I would consider them probably in a different form as to what we knew them as. Like Necromunda is very similar to how it used to be, but there's not a huge amount you could do with that game. That is literally some people with autogun shooting at each other from walkways and barricades, which is a great game, and I love it.
I can see Gothic changing scale.
Yeah.
I can see it going bigger, a bit like Titanicus did.
A change of scale is something that I would imagine would happen with most games. So there's obviously... so nobody knows what, for example, Warhammer the Old World is going to look like.
Maybe that's War Master.
Yeah, that's what.
There's a lot of assumption being made that it's going to be the same scale as Fantasy used to be.
No, that's never going to
happen. Can't see that happening.
No. I can see a slightly larger, because I think War Master's like 5 mil.
No, War Master was like 10 mil. It was bigger. It was bigger than Epic.
Yeah. Was it bigger than Epic? Yeah. Oh, okay.
Epic was in 6 mil and War Master was 10 mil.
Okay. Well, that's fair enough. Yeah, I can see that being a slightly different scale because, I mean, off on a tangent, Warlord released, or they're in the process of releasing their American Civil War game at the moment, and that's 15 mil, and that lets you get like a decent amount of detail on those sort of scale models whilst having the big formations.
So imagine what Games Workshop can do with that.
Yeah, exactly. And just be like, Warlord's got all of the oldie GW stuff. See what you can do with all of the new stuff. So that's what I would like to see. Yeah, I don't really have a problem with the other stuff not really being in Titanicus, but I quite like that there's this unique game where everybody's got access to the same stuff. I think that's very cool.
Yeah.
And that sort of brings a level of like even playing fieldness that you can then apply your own sort of story and narrative over. Because I think that's where Titanicus events have got to go. So I think you went to the only one up at Warhammer World, didn't you, Chris?
I did. I went to the Legio Walks at Warhammer World. It was their first Titanicus event, and it was a bloody good weekend. Yeah, excellent.
Yeah, I have to admit, I was sort of like, because I know that you, George, and a couple of the other guys from the club went, and you all had your Tabletop Standard Engine Kill T-shirts and all of that stuff going on. I was like, that's a weekend that I feel sad that I've missed out on.
It was so good, so drunk.
And, well, that's an important thing. Also, tangent, what are you drinking, Chris?
Oh, I'm drinking Jim Beam Red Stag. Black cherry.
Oh, a whiskey man.
So, it's American, isn't it? So it's a bourbon.
It's a bourbon, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Sorry, yeah.
Cherry bourbon.
Yeah, it's absolutely divine. It's.
What about you, Callum? What did you showed me something fancy?
Yes, I finally got into my bottle of rum bullion that's been sat on the shelf since Christmas. And
we say finally. Yeah. The first 15 minutes of recording.
It was actually me fighting with the wax on the lid. So I've got that. What have you got, Ricky?
I literally ran to the one stop down the road after recording because I realised I had nothing left. So I just had to grab the Captain Morgan Spice that's on the shelf.
And a quick bet on whether or not Sam's got tea or coffee.
I'm going to go with coffee.
Yeah, I've got coffee to keep me awake because
Get in.
I had some roast pork for dinner and I need to not fall asleep.
I'm going to go with Nescafe.
I don't know what it is.
Don't you me then?
The only instruction in this house is never buy basic bitch Nescafe, whatever the basic one is that we had in the office one time that tasted like garbage.
Yeah, I don't do Nescafe.
Oh, I assume it's not bring anything basic bitch into your house. I mean, you're proper foodies. You've got an internet following and everything, haven't you?
I suppose so.
Yeah. Well, okay. Sam's wife has an internet following about food, and he just eats it.
On OnlyFans.
So sort of
Japanese businessmen pay me to eat donuts on camera.
So sort of getting back on track. So drinking is one of the best things about events, isn't it, Chris?
Oh yeah, I've been to loads of Warhammer World 40k doubles, and getting hammered getting hammered day one, sobering up day two is key.
Well, I guess that's the thing, because I imagine you drove there, so drinking day two is probably not a good thing.
Yeah,
I usually have someone to drive me to and from events. So I'm pissed from Friday morning when I get picked up till Sunday night when someone drops me off.
It's brilliant.
It's literally the most insulting thing on the planet when I've got to drive you there and you're there with a fucking flask chugging rum and coke for 3 hours as we drive up there.
It's the best bit, isn't it?
And I can't have it.
It's good, yeah. And that's
crawling out of bed and just shuddering and just kind of breakfast cider. Those are the best bits of the weekend.
Yeah, so the sort of obviously we've gone on a bit of a tangent, but your stag weekend up at War of the Roses, Sam, we must have left like 30, 40 cans of cider in that hotel room for people to clean up. Absolutely terrible. Like the room itself wasn't untidy, but the bin was full, so
you could tell the alkies had been in.
we just hid the rest of the cans under one of the duvets.
We let all the homeless guys in.
So that was that's good fun. Obviously, drinking and warhammering is a tale of oldest time.
It goes hand in hand.
I mean, that's what this is based on, isn't it? This whole podcast.
There used to be a tradition at my house, like with my little gaming group. We used to play Warhammer Fantasy for shots every Christmas. That was.
Oh, tell us more.
Oh, hang on. What was it called? Do you remember Triumph and Treachery?
Yeah, the doubles games. Yeah.
Well, it's like the multiplayer game.
Yeah.
So we used to set up a game of that. We'd have an objective thing in the middle, which was a shot glass, and then you'd have to take a shot for every unit you lost, and various other things. I think if you rolled like a double on casting magic, you take a shot. There's all these different things you had to take a shot.
Brilliant.
You're just completely hammered by the end of it. And we used to do that every Christmas. That was our thing. And I mean, that kind of died with fantasy, sadly. But I might see if they want to do Titanicus for shots. Maybe
yeah.
Maybe that would be a live stream.
You should totally do that. You should.
That would be so.
You should do fingers worth of drinks, depending on the size of the Titan killed. That could be.
Fighting for Titan
all the damage taken.
Instead of the pins on your terminal for the void shield, you could just have shot glasses.
Oh, good.
Every time you drop a void, take a shot.
That's everybody taking missile launches. Just to get your opponent hammered. That's So that's great. So sort of saying that you sort of went to obviously the narrative event they had up at Warhammer World.
Yes.
And it is a very narrative game. There doesn't seem to be not that there's a lack of balance because everybody's got access to the same sort of stuff. But all of the Titan Legions have like a couple of rules and a couple of bits of war gear. And it just doesn't seem to matter which one of those you take. That just informs your play style. But they all seem fairly sort of like okay against each other. There doesn't seem to be a dominating force from what I've read.
There isn't, but I tell you what, you'll be surprised how many lists and combinations you can make with 5 models and the different mana pools, the different stratagems you take, the different weapon combinations. It's quite impressive, actually.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that I think is so good about it. The longevity you can get out of a starter set and a warlord is impressive. It's very good.
Yeah, especially so the starter set's something very good to sort of talk about because that's ridiculous what you get in there. I mean, I already had Titans, and because I bought the battle group when it first came out.
Yeah,
and then like the Night Battalion and a couple of bits and pieces, and then they brought the starter set out, and it's what, 2 Reavers, 4 Warhounds, no,
2 Reavers, 2 Warhounds, and 2 Lancers, 2 Cerastus Lancers.
Yeah,
70 quid.
Yeah, 70 quid, which is essentially
from a third party seller, it's 90 quid from GW, but yeah, you can get it 75 quid. It's so good.
It's essentially like a Reaver and the rulebook for free or something like that. The way it works out, and because as soon as I saw it, I was like, well, I'm going to buy one of that because I mean, at that time I didn't know whether or not that was going to be a thing that was going to be continually released. But it's a great starter set. Comes with the rules. Comes with enough to make like the very basis of a Titan Legion, plus with some like knight support.
Yeah,
and that's a really and obviously the rulebook and all the tokens and everything. So starting Adeptus Titanicus, obviously that's probably a good place to start. Obviously you've got,
I would say so, yes.
It's a starter set. It gives you some models and it gives you the rules and it gives you all the tokens. So how would you learn to play Titanicus, especially in these sort of COVID-y times where you can't really play games against people?
So today is Friday, tomorrow is Saturday, and when your podcast drops will be Monday.
Mm-hmm.
So if you go on the channel, there will be a how to play Adeptus Titanicus series playlist thing, which I've spent the last month putting together, which has killed me.
And it's almost like we planned it, but those dates are entirely coincidental.
They are, yeah.
Which is really great. So do you want to tell us a little bit more about that? Because I've got like a group of people that I always ask questions of every time we like have an episode. You know, what do you want to hear about? And I say we're going to be talking about Titanicus and the sort of daunting getting into it. How do you play it? How, you know, what models do you buy? What's a basic force? It was the main question. So it sounds like this series is probably the best place to go. So do you want to tell us a little bit more about it?
Yeah, so obviously the best thing is the starter set. You have more than enough in there to play a decent sized game. The playlist, it's 9 parts, and it basically is to work in conjunction with a starter set. So you will need a rule book. I haven't just recorded myself reading the rule book. No point in that whatsoever. And I've basically focused on the main core mechanics. There's plenty of rules that I haven't gone into. I mean, there's 19 different weapon traits. I'm not even going to touch that. Yeah. But you will learn you will learn about the terminal. You will learn how to move a Titan. You will learn how to fight with a Titan. You will learn how the reactor works. You will learn how Void Shield works. All that stuff. It's all the main mechanics, and then from that you can explore other things. The series is open to expansion as well. I've focused purely on Titans. There isn't a knight mentioned, and I've used a Reaver for all the examples because a Reaver Titan is a Titan. It does everything a Titan does. It has no extra special rules where Warhounds and Warlords do. Mm-hmm. So yeah, check out that series, Tabletop Standard, How to Play Titanicus. You need a starter set, a rulebook, and a Reaver Titan, and you're golden, you're good to go.
Fab. Yeah, that sounds great because, like, that obviously that is the core tenet of the game, is how to pilot a Titan. And once you sort of, once you sort of understand that, you scale it up for a Warlord and scale it down, plus a couple of rules for Warhounds, essentially.
Yeah.
So the starter box.
You've got
has
2
the
Reavers and
Reaver
2
in it.
Warhounds, yeah.
Oh, cool. So it's literally buy the starter box. I've got that rule book. I've got a Reaver.
Exactly, yeah. So the introduction basically is me tapping a box saying, if you've got one of these, you'll be fine, sort of thing.
Yeah. And the good thing about the starter set is it contains one of each from one of the 2 Reaver sets, doesn't it? So you've got all of the weapon options for Reavers.
Yeah, that's it. So you've got all the choppy stuff and all the guns and everything, and magnetize your Titans. Magnetize.
Have you got an intro?
No,
on how to
I'm not
magnetise the
doing. I don't do lots of hobby stuff because you don't want to see me swearing and gluing my fingers together. I always paint in the nude. It's just not.
So there's that OnlyFans account we mentioned.
So yeah, some things are best kept to myself. I'll just
Tabletop standard OnlyFans.
Yeah.
See how to magnetize a Titan.
But if anybody is looking at how to magnetize a Titan, there is a Facebook group for Adeptus Titanicus. I think it's called Adeptus Titanicus 2018, and like I'm pretty sure there's a pinned post on how to use 3mm magnets on your Titans.
yeah, there's loads. They'll just mock you and be really sarcastic if you actually ask. So
yeah, so just yeah,
of course they will. It's a
Exactly.
Warhammer group.
It's fairly wholesome, but I think if you ask the base questions that everybody's asked, I think you'll get a sarcastic answer and probably gifs. Of, people rolling their eyes, but yeah, so that's really great to hear, and that sort of covers pretty much what everybody I asked for has sort of said. I mean, multiple Reavers and multiple Warhounds are probably the sort of standard of where you would start most. You know, that's a combination that's going to be involved in most of the mana pool rules anyway.
Yeah, I mean, if you just buy a Warlord on top of that, and then you've got your Axiom mana pool, which, if you like, is your beginner's mana pool. It's got the simplest kind of rules.
Mm-hmm.
It's the most forgiving, if you like, and it gives you a taster of all the Titans. Doing a how to play series is difficult, I think, for any game, because you've got to explain it and you've got to get it right. See, that's the thing.
Yeah.
So I have like peer reviewed it. I've had like people watch it, and they have even just if they pick up a spelling mistake and stuff like that. But I'll find out over the weekend. Haters going to hate, aren't they? So
well, yeah, exactly. I mean, I imagine it's quite difficult. Just not like you've got to assume that base level of no knowledge, haven't you?
Yeah, to a degree, but you've also got to keep it snappy. So
yeah,
I've kind of said, read these 2 pages, and then we'll start. Because again, you don't want to be preaching to people. The whole video is, all the videos are based on examples rather than saying, now do this, now do this.
Yes, yeah,
sort of thing. And they're all 5 minutes long, no more than 5 minutes, apart from the combat phase, which is like 15 minutes because it's so detailed.
Yeah.
And trying to make that. Trying to sort of simplify it and make it watchable, I guess. But we'll see. We'll see what people think, because at the moment it's not out and I haven't got a clue.
I'm sure. I'm like so from the, because I think we've played at least once or twice. So I think I mean, if you're using the sort of basic examples that we went through, I'm sure it's going to be a really useful series for people. And I mean, I'll watch them all, because I've looked at Titans because they keep looking at me from a shelf because they've sat unused for quite a while. But yeah, I'll definitely go yeah,
like a real Titan.
Go through them and sort of refresh, because if COVID sort of taught us anything, it's got a lot of toys for a lot of systems, and I'm going to want to play as many games as possible as soon as I'm allowed out of my house.
Yeah, exactly.
And like I said, like I really enjoyed at the end of last year putting together my 40k night household.
Yep.
And that sort of reinvigorated this would look really cool for Titanicus and have it on such a large scale.
Yeah, you got to paint them in the same scheme, right?
Yes, yeah, exactly. And that's black and red, so that's going to be really simple. I'm not going to go to the level of conversion work I did. So all of my 40k nights are all Mechanicus and battered.
They're amazing. I've seen them. They're brilliant.
Thank you. But hopefully this will be before, so the heresy will be before they sort of get stranded and have to mend and make do. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to that, and just playing anything, but playing Titanicus is something that quite a few of the guys in our gaming group are sort of like, yeah, we know there's 40k and we're always going to play 40k, but Titanicus is the one thing that sort of captures that imagination, because it is like a link to the old games that we used to play, like childhood bashing Titans together on the floor, etc.
It's actually a really good game just to dip into as well, because if you you know, the main game is 40k, you need obviously quite a lot of models. But if you know, you just fancy that one game of AT, then just have a small knight household. Have those 4 titans from the starter set, and you can play a game. You don't, you know, if that's all you want to do is dip into it, you don't need to get a lot. So it is a nice box game just to have on the side. It's, you know,
yeah, it's definitely really well thought out. So I'm sure I can convince Sam at least to get some bits, or throw him some bits from my unbuilt pile. If that's what you sounded excited about. But yeah, so that's really cool. Hopefully that sort of takes off, and you know, if it helps even if like a handful of people who think that sort of getting into Titanicus is the hardest step. Obviously, if that helps your, you know, and like, well, if you've got the starter set, you can play the examples at home, you know, on the kitchen table. You don't need a full table worth of terrain. You can just obviously follow what's going on and crack on with it. So hopefully that will help people make that step, especially if they've already got the models.
Absolutely,
for sure. Which is great. Yeah, I mean, like, I don't really care what games people play as long as people are playing games. You know, it's a better world. I think I'm a big. I'm on my 3rd giant rum and coke, so I'm getting really soppy.
You're gonna help us with the first
What?
tabletop standard / Haven't Wargamers Titanicus event, you can?
Yes, yeah.
Oh yeah.
I was literally just about to ask this. Where do we see you guys? You know, after COVID, are we looking at some events and narrative?
Yeah. So I've spoken to
pieces?
Callum in very brief terms, because there's not a lot we can do at the moment. But yeah, I'd like to do an event. Obviously, if we do it at the club, we can raise some money for the club, which would be amazing, because obviously it's taken a bit of a hit over COVID. It's got a good venue. It's got a bar.
It's the important thing. Tables and a bar.
So everyone wins, and it would be good to just meet some people that play AT. I like to think that there's enough people that watch the channel that we'll be able to fill up a hole, and go from there.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, we talked about it probably at maybe even in 2019. I think it was when we started to look at it. Obviously, Chris ambushed me with a document, and he was ready to go, put his pitch, and I was like, "Yeah, well, you want to run a tournament? I don't care. Let's go." That's my outlook when running stuff for Haven. I'm happy to run anything anyone throws at me, whether or not I know the rules. So yeah, I hope.
I'll catch up with you later.
So hopefully, obviously, once the world sort of shapens up a bit, yeah, absolutely, we'll be fully behind that, for sure. So,
if it's that local, I'm just going to have to learn to play, aren't I?
Well, that's it, Sam. Going to have to. So,
yeah, those are the rules.
Yeah,
be interesting to see how much interest we get. How many people want to come and do that sort of thing. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, like, so from sort of like games like that that are kind of niche overall within the Games Workshop hobby, I think you'll find people to fill the event fairly easily. I mean, we ran a Middle Earth event. I think it was in 2019. I don't know. I was only running.
Pretty sure it was.
I think everything was.
But yeah, I'm pretty sure it was in 2019. And sort of, we've got like a good Middle Earth community at the club. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, well, if we could get the club and then a couple of people that we know, that would be worth it. And then, like, the event sold out. And there were people traveling from sort of like London area to come play. So, you know, Titanicus is one of those things that's obviously got a very devoted core following. So, yeah, I'm sure people would be all over it.
I mean, we're very centrally located, which is really good. We've got good access, so people will travel for it. You know, it's just I mean, we're in a good place. So
yeah, and you can pretty much see the motorway from where the Haven Club is. So that's really handy.
Yeah, you can. Yeah. I mean, also the club might not be able to handle as much of its terrain,
Brilliant,
so
thank
give
you.
me a shout
Yeah.
if you need more.
It's
so
definitely a
to help the
conversation
both
we've
of
got
you
to have. What can we? How many tables can we actually cater for between what I've got and the club and everything? So yeah, but it's
I would imagine Titanicus wise, you could use most standard 40k desert terrain, that type of thing, without obviously incorporating its
rock,
buildings and
you've got rocks, then you're good. You're golden.
there's plenty to go around.
We've
a lot
got
of
a lot of
rocks.
that.
I've got a lot of
Yeah.
rocks. I'll give you that.
Fantastic. So we're probably going to end this segment here. Do you want to join us for just sort of the wrap up, where we're just going to chat shit and answer a few questions, Chris? Yeah, all good with that?
Yeah.
Fantastic. So join us again. Depending on what Sam's choice of music is, we'll catch you on the other side. Thanks very much. Okay, thank you for joining us after that quick break again. So Callum joined by Sam and Ricky, and we still have Chris from Tabletop Standard. So we're just going to answer a few questions and chat a little bit of shit, and I've still got most of this rum and coke to drink, so we're going to last as long as that does, I think.
And we're done.
We're done, yeah.
No, I meant the 2 litre bottle and then the bottle of rum. So we've probably got another 5-10 minutes in me.
Chug.
So just staying on the sort of subject of Titanicus, what's the coolest thing you've ever seen in a game? Was one of the questions someone sent me.
Oh man, I'll tell you what, Callum. One of the coolest things I've ever seen in a game is when we played. If you remember.
Is that when like something exploded, killed something else, that then exploded and killed something else?
Brown nose.
Which I think then killed something else.
Yes, yeah. It was like ridiculous.
But I'd say, yeah, those kind of things are the coolest things, are the mass Titan deaths. I had a game where all I had left was a warlord, and I was surrounded by 3 or 4 other Titans, I think. They killed the warlord, so I got tabled. It went Nova, and it actually killed every single Titan left on the board.
Yes.
I mean,
that's the cool stuff.
Yeah, that's what I immediately found when we played that game. Where running your Titans hot is probably a bad idea. Because I think the one that started it off just randomly blew up. Because I failed I ran my reactor too hot, rolled on the chart, and it just exploded.
No, I think I shot one of your Titans, killed it. It spun in its death throes, shot another one, which died, which killed something else, which then fell into another one.
Yes, yeah,
just a massive chain reaction of carnage.
So this sounds exactly like what I want from the game.
Yeah,
so what Titan is most likely to explode?
Primitive.
Yeah,
the Warbringer looks like it might explode a lot. Would you recommend that for someone that wants exploding robots?
Yes. Just arm it fully with volcano cannons, because you have to push your reactor every time you fire it.
There's absolutely no sophistication to this or class. It just sounds clumsy. It sounds primitive. I don't know. I don't appeal.
It depends on what insects you are.
The humans are talking.
Ricky's just going to sit in the corner and clean his tears off of his howling banshees.
You can always arm a Reaver with pure close combat weapons as well, and just run.
And a big mane of hair.
Yeah, just go full stride. There's so many things you can't control in the game. That's what makes it cool. So yeah, there's cool stuff happening all the time. There's none of this, I know exactly what's going to happen in turn 3.
Stratagem. It's not happening.
Well, you can do that. There's loads of stratagems. They add so much to the game as well.
Can I force myself to explode?
Kind of.
Yes, I'm in.
Yeah, you can get yourself in bad positions, can't you?
Yeah, there are stratagems where you can make so you can get a really hot Titan next to something and then use a stratagem that's going to make it blow up and things like that. So yeah, it's deep, man, real deep.
there's lots of crew on Titans, isn't there? Like, do you have a janitor?
That's what the servitors are.
Yeah, you have servitor clades. Yeah,
With a little dustpan and brush.
there's got to be one with a dustpan and brush.
A Roomba servitor.
Can you imagine? Yeah.
No, because I'm pretty sure a Roomba is AI, and AI is bad.
Of course.
Are
you can't
Roombas
have a
self-aware? I
conscience.
don't know.
Well, no, they just take your head off, lobotomize you, keep you alive, and attach you to a Roomba to control it.
That's fine. I'm sure that's okay.
That's
Every
the level
time
of
you say
technology in
Roomba.
the Imperium.
I've just got do in my head every time you say a Roomba.
That's La Bamba.
Oh, I don't know.
That's not even La Bamba. That's the theme from Bewitched.
Yeah, it is.
What's La
Pretty
Bamba?
close.
La 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 bamba.
Yeah, no, yeah, that's what it is.
Ah,
Yeah.
there we go. Points to Chris for getting it right without being racially insensitive. There we go.
Good job.
That's your title now, isn't it?
Yeah.
La Bamba with Chris from Tabletop
Yeah, that's
Titanic.
it. Fantastic. So another question that I got asked was from my good buddy Craig, who both Ricky and Sam know.
The Craig.
The Craig, handsome Craig, more of a painter than a player, but he did ask a couple of things. What was it? Give me a second. Fill the time. Oh no, there we go. So actually a serious question. So where do we think as a group and then sort of Chris from a more narrative side, where do we think gaming events will look like? What do we think they will look like by the end of the year? So do we think we're going to be able to start to run smaller sized events with people masked up, a la sort of what Confrontation was last year, or are we going to be able to, pack 80 people into a hall and spit in each other's mouths?
I don't think we're going to be back there for a long time.
I personally don't want to hold an event until we can pack 80 people in and spit in each other's mouths.
I mean, those are the best kind of events for sure. Like when I can like drunkenly sweat on my opponent, that's the dream. But
well, yeah, that's the conversation I was having with the missus the other day. She was like, "Do you remember when we could go outside and just put things from outside in our mouths?"
Well, like floor food.
Is that part of an open relationship?
Yeah. I just want to be back there again.
Remember when people used to go on birthday cakes?
Yeah.
I remember.
So
I don't see the first quarter of the year happening.
No, I'd rather
I wouldn't
wait.
see the first half, to be honest.
No.
I think in the mid of the year, just outside it, so we're looking July onwards, we might see small events because I think is it Wales are allowing weddings.
Mm-hmm.
So
Warhammer's just as important as a wedding.
Well, it's even less interactive.
Yeah. I mean, in all seriousness, like for the way Confrontation was run, well done, very Ricky, in October, and obviously we know that the UK went to shit again very shortly after October.
Nothing to do with Confrontation.
Nothing to do with Confrontation. That was a very well run event when nobody got poorly, and it was perfectly allowed, as we detailed in our Confrontation events episode. I will do anything to play games right now. So if it involves me spend, an event that's smaller sized, me wearing a mask and slathered in hand sanitizer, I'll do it. I'll buy a bubble suit if it means I can play somebody at 40k or whatever.
I know what you're saying, but I kind of really want the beer to flow, and I want people obnoxiously shouting "engine kill" across the table, and you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, for sure. I
100% agree. I think the reason why Confrontation ran last year was obviously it was already expected it was already in the events calendar and so on. We just made it happen as we could with the restrictions that are in place. I think this year is going to be very different, though. If it isn't looking like potentially the confrontation of old or anything that's remotely a bit more relaxed, probably won't bother.
No, that's understandable. I mean, Confrontation in October was my first sober tournament in about 12 years.
Exactly. That was one thing that had to be put in place, which,
it's
I
hard.
didn't like.
It's hard to play an event with a clear head.
It's hard to stay sober with the amount of rubbish that goes on around the hall.
That's very true. So sort of we're in a. Hopefully the vaccine rollout goes really well and we can start spitting each other's mouths soon.
That's what I want.
Craig did have another question that I was supposed to ask a couple of weeks ago, which is why Ricky pronounces the word melee with a ridiculous French accent. So, Ricky, can you say melee for me?
Melee?
Do you say melee or melee?
I don't know.
Because apparently, so essentially, also ask Ricky why he still pronounces many words like a drunk Frenchman, and melee was one of them. So I don't know if you pronounce it melee or melee, but apparently it tickled Craig.
Could I throw a question back at Craig
For sure.
and go, please, could you give me episode examples and timing so I can go back?
Because now you don't know how you say that word.
Because I have no idea.
Because I'm fully aware that earlier in the episode I pronounced hedonites as hedonites, and as in pretty much two different ways in the same sentence. So I'll just say whatever.
Probably.
But
a bit like scone and scotch.
Pretty much. So I mean, it's an important thing because if you only say melee and everyone around you only says melee, and you're at a tournament and someone says, "Okay, it's time for me to fight with my melee weapons or melee," it's probably melee.
That kills me.
Yeah.
Melee.
Yeah. What are you even talking about? Get out of here. No bloody
melee, isn't that something?
Yeah, it's dinner time. It's melee.
Fish or something. It's like fishing. Melee, isn't it?
I don't know, but it sounds about right. Well, I'll ask him for some specific examples.
I no longer know how to say the word. Like,
well, you should know because you're bloody French.
Yeah, very, very distantly.
You carry the name.
I mean, your name isn't nice, is it? It's Nice. As your dad very angrily said under his breath during your wedding, about 3 foot away from my face. It's Nice.
The celebrant managed to say it wrong throughout the entire ceremony, and it was fantastic. It amused me.
To be fair, it will happen with my wedding when they pronounce Mel's surname. It's supposed to be pronounced one way, and everybody just pronounces it the other.
Genuinely, Ricky, offer is still open. I am technically a reverend of the Universal Life Church. I'll officiate a wedding for you.
Oh no, I didn't say no to you. I actually spoke to Mel, and we've had a chat about it. And
she said, "Callum, oh God, no."
No, not at all. She was like,
"Yeah,
really."
So for those who are listening who don't know Ricky in a personal capacity, I'm going to get a bit. Obviously, your wedding's been put off from last year because of Rona. We were all supposed to go for a big piss up and a lovely holiday in Cyprus. Cyprus? Yeah, it was Cyprus. Yeah, and we haven't been able to do that. So I randomly, drunkenly, after our holiday got cancelled last year, signed up to the Universal Life Church, thinking, well, if they can't actually get married, I can just pretend marry them and we can have a party. And then I totally forgot about that until they emailed me and went, "You've been a reverend for 6 months. Good job, Callum." I was like, oh my God. Yeah, I technically am. Okay.
Does that mean we have to adjust your signature at work to Reverend Callum Slater?
It's something I can use.
It's Rev.
I can't. I can't legally officiate weddings because this is the UK. We don't live in a lawless country like the US. But I can pretend to host a wedding, and then that's pretty much the same thing. It's just words and metal rings, isn't it?
Well, anybody can do that, though.
Yeah, but I'm a reverend.
Well, yeah, that's
That
the
adds an
entire
air
city
of
of Las Vegas is
legitimacy.
built on that premise.
Fair enough.
You can get married and then jump out of a plane with the flying
Chris.
Elvis core.
Chris, whenever you want to leave, just go.
As usual, the episode has descended into anarchy at the tail end.
Yeah.
A local podcast for local people.
100%.
No, actually, let's see how local we are.
Yeah, how did that go?
Okay.
We
Let's have a look.
went off on a tangent.
Yeah. That's what we do really
My
well.
my stag do was in Berlin in a full gimp suit through
Why doesn't that surprise me?
through Gatwick, through security. They didn't stop me. They were quite happy for me to wear it hooded up. Yeah.
The first time we met you, Chris, was at a Warhammer, a Havoc Wargaming open day where you were wearing 3-inch shorts. It doesn't surprise me.
Is that the first time you came down? Was that one of the open days?
Yeah, it might have been. Yeah.
Is that right? God,
Yeah.
they were a good idea, weren't they?
Yeah, that was before your days, I think. Wasn't
Me?
it, Pal?
No. You
were
haven't.
there
When
for
you
the
say
first one,
3-inch shorts, are we talking full-on Jimmy Savile 1970s running shorts?
You know the
Wow.
with
short
the
shorts
split
have got a
seam
history
down
when
the
we used to
side.
play Warhammer for shots as well. Sometimes they were too
down.
short.
I'm I'm pretty sure hasn't run an open day without me being there. Well, I thought I helped introduce them.
I remember. Obviously, I remember the first one happened. I just don't remember if you were on the committee.
Yeah,
with
I probably
me at
was.
the time.
All the good
You
things
do
have happened
remember the
since I've been
short.
in charge.
But I remember the shorts,
That's
Chris. They were burgundy.
He's got pictures.
I still have.
That's
I probably
the
have
important
somewhere.
thing.
But just generally of the open day, and Chris was in them.
Okie dokie. So let's have So I found a breakdown. So the majority of our listeners, I've lost it. The majority of our listeners, 82% are apparently based in the United Kingdom, with most of that being in England, 1% in Scotland, Northern Ireland, and Wales. Very exciting. I've lost it again. I need to stop pressing back on my mouse because it just changes the webpage. I'm on the analytics.
Same screen.
And then next is 15% in the US, where apparently a third of that is from Washington State. We've got some people in Ohio, Texas, Virginia, and California. Very exciting.
I just think that's down.
Yeah,
to
yeah.
our
I
name.
think that's people looking for Civil War podcasts.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of disappointed Confederates.
And then we've got a raft of people from all over the world. So we've got some listeners in Ireland, Germany, Canada, Australia, Singapore, France, and Sweden.
Sweden, France, and Germany.
They are. And Australia's new as well.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, because I think it was
is it?
pretty much like the UK, the US, Ireland, and randomly Singapore. Yeah.
Random
Which,
one in
again,
Singapore,
I'm not
yeah.
sure if any of these people are using VPNs, but if you are from those countries, that's absolutely fucking great, and I love you. because we only get about 50 or 60 regular listeners on using the streaming service, so I don't know how many people watch on YouTube.
And if you are from those countries, please say hello, so we know that you're really from that place. Like, take a photo of yourself with a land.
Sam, you should be looking at your YouTube stats, where your listeners are from.
Right. YouTube takes an absolute age to populate the geographic data, so I check it periodically. But it definitely suffers from VPNs being a thing, because only 56% of our traffic is from the UK, but the rest of it's not telling me there's any data for it.
That's just me using a VPN bumping up the stats. But to be fair, we've now no longer got any regular listeners under 18, which is probably a good thing because we've just started swearing a lot more recently, and we've got.
That means Lysander.
And we've got 1% of listeners in the 45 to 59 category, which I imagine is purely Nick Highland. He's 45.
He's not that old,
so that totally counts.
According to this,
he's not 59. He's not quite that old.
The UK only accounts for 30% of our YouTube traffic. But I can't get any more because it says there's not enough data yet. But it's only 30% of our traffic.
Yeah, I'm sure you don't have that problem, Chris, with your 1,500 subscribers on YouTube.
The whole.
Woo!
How many subscribers
20,
have we got?
20?
22.
20.
Yeah. We've got
22,
51 regular estimated on the podcast platform. So we're going to cause a massive expansion of your audience with this episode, Chris. And we're not just going to pikey people from when you inevitably say, "Oh, I was on this shitty podcast," and then they Google us and laugh.
I'm going to plug the crap out of it.
I got drunk on this podcast. Come and have a listen.
This is actually quite similar to the Aussie ones I've done.
But much better because you can understand what I'm saying.
God,
I've had 10 views from Iraq.
That can't be a VPN
because
what can Iraq watch?
They were probably searching engine kills. How to?
Right, I think that's probably a good point to wrap up. So, Chris, do you want to just point people in the right directions for your Instagram, YouTube, any Facebooks in it, etc., etc.?
Yes, just type in tabletop standard _standard on Instagram.
Fantastic, and that will just lead everybody to your beautifully painted Titans, and I imagine you've got a link to all of your channels and stuff on there, yeah?
I do, yes, thank you.
Beautiful. Everybody knows where our stuff is because you're the same 50 people who listen to us every other week. So we will have some more stuff up on the website following Sam's Death Guard Army List blog. It's just we've been quite busy with work and haven't been able to actually spend any time on that. But there'll be more bits and pieces, and I'm sure that after this conversation that there will spur an interest in Titanicus, at least amongst me and Sam. Fuck right off with the Elder Titans, and we might post some bits and pieces on there. You've got 40k scale Elder Titans though, haven't you?
Me?
Yeah,
I got 3.
Yeah, exactly.
I've got as many as Titans as you need to play Titanicus, but in 40k. Well, and I've got 5 Wraith Knights. So,
yeah, I was going to say, and you've got loads of Wraith Knights, haven't you? So you can play a game of Titanicus on your own.
Yeah,
with Elder Titans locked in your room.
I know what to do. I can make my own rules.
Yeah, everything's got 2+ invulnerable save because Ed is really cool. Anyways,
yeah,
right. Thank you very much for joining us, Chris. I hope you've had a good time.
Yeah, cheers, fellas. It's been really good. Thank you.
And you've got an open invitation just to join us whenever. Don't have to talk about Titanicus. Just come on, have a couple of drinks, and just
shout at Ricky.
Toys. Yeah. Shout at Ricky. Yeah, which is great. So thank everybody else for listening. Check out Chris's channels as described, and we'll post some links up on YouTube. As well, and we'll post out some Facebook and Instagram posts just with that information linked as well. Thanks very much for joining us. Come back in a couple of weeks where we may have another War Down South Hobby Heroes interview, or we'll just be having another episode where we randomly talk about what GW have shown us in the last couple of weeks. Thanks very much. Have a good time.